In this tutorial, we'll be covering the basics of creating web applications using servlets. We'll start with an overview of what servlets are and how they work, and then dive into some practical examples. To get started, you'll need a basic understanding of Java and web development. You should also have a development environment set up, such as Eclipse or NetBeans, and a web server like Tomcat installed. What are servlets? Servlets are Java classes that run on a web server, and they're used to process HTTP requests and generate responses. Each request is handled by a separate thread in the server's thread pool, and the servlet processes that request before returning a response back to the client. Creating a servlet. To create a servlet, you'll need to create a Java class that extends the TopServlet class. This class should override the doGet or dapust method, depending on which HTTP method you want to handle. Handling HTTP requests. To handle HTTP requests, you'll need to override the doGet or dapust method. These methods take two parameters, a TopServlet request object and a TopServlet response object. The request object contains information about the HTTP request, such as the request URL and any parameters. The response object is used to send a response back to the client. Here's an example of a simple doGet method that sends back a hello world message. Deploying a servlet. Once you've created a servlet, you'll need to deploy it to your web server. To do this, you'll need to create a web deployment descriptor file web.xml and add your servlet to it. This file tells the server which servlets to load and how to map incoming requests to those servlets. Here's an example of a web.xml file that maps a servlet to the URL pattern myservlet. Conclusion. In this tutorial, we covered the basics of creating web applications with servlets. We started with an overview of servlets and how they work. By the end of this tutorial, you should have a better understanding of how servlets can be used to handle HTTP requests and generate responses. Good luck with your servlet development. Thanks for watching and happy coding!